Thanks for tuning in to this broadcast of The Resilient Advisor. My name is Jay Coulter, and joining me once again this week is my good friend Chris Versace of Tematica Research. The reason he's joining me again is halfway through our broadcast on Monday, where we were meticulously breaking down the earnings reports for the coming week. The whole thing shut down. My internet crashed. Part of doing business during the coronavirus era. But Chris, I appreciate you coming back on to finish our discussion.
It's quite all right, Jay. I figured you were going to splice these together. So, I'm wearing the same shirt. So as far as people out there in podcast land who aren't catching this live, they might think, wow, nothing happened.
Perfect, right?
Yes.
Oh, gosh. So on the Monday broadcast, we started talking about earnings for Monday and Tuesday, getting your thoughts on what was coming and what to look for. Before we start looking forward, did anything stand out to you the last couple of days?
Was there anything demonstrably, worse than expected? And I would say no. I think probably the biggest expectation is how, even though companies continue to pull guidance, some companies reported worse than expected, some were a little better than expected. It's almost as if the market investors are going, whatever. Because I think, as you've probably noticed, Jay, where I think we're on our sixth day, or at least, of small cap stocks trucking higher. We're seeing the S&P 500 continue to climb, the Dow continue to climb as well. And I think there's a little bit of hopium involved on this. And I say hopium, what was it, like Raisin Bran? 2 scoops. So I think the reason for that is, you're in the state of Georgia. You guys have started to open up. Other states are slowly opening up various aspects. Parks and first phase businesses and things like that. We're hearing plans from McDonald's, from Best Buy to Starbucks to Chico's FAS that they're going to start to open up, not in the restaurants, not opening up the dining areas, but just doing what a number of local restaurants have probably done with curbside pickup. But it's going into retail land as well. Again, particularly with Best Buy and, as I said, Chico's FAS. So I think investors are starting to get a little excited. Hey, here we go. It looks like we might be opening up. And look, after several weeks cooped up at home, self-cocooning, lockdown, choose your words, I think people are getting a little squirrely. They want to get out a little bit. And I think as long as this is a staged reopening, such that if we get signs or indications that the number of virus cases are starting to pick back up, then we can dial it back. Because the last thing we want to do is, try and, push forward like a bull in a china shop, so to speak, and be right back where we were a month ago.
So, Chris, in addition to having this, deep insight of putting a thematic lens on the equity markets, you also have a really deep reservoir of knowledge of 80s and 90s movies. So my challenge for you on this episode, and keep in mind it's a short one, I'm looking for an 80s movies reference that does not have Kevin Bacon in it. Wide swath, but no Kevin Bacon. All right, here 80s, we go.
Huh?
Here
80s.
is. I think that's
what about
one, but you're.
Can we go a little further? How about we go a little further back? And Jay, these are not the earnings you're looking for.
You finished before my first question.
Well, come on. The old chart.
Yeah. So here's the chart we put up on Monday's broadcast from the folks over at Earnings Whisperers. Just a great Twitter handle. If you're on Twitter, make sure you follow them. Lays out what's coming out each day of the week, at least some of the more anticipated earnings releases.
Correct.
So kind of eyeballing this thing up here, looking at today, post-bell, tomorrow, and Friday. Chris, what do you have your eyes on?
Well, let me just tick them off and just give a couple notes, and then if you want, we can talk a little further on them. So obviously Wednesday after the close today, we're going to get Microsoft. People are going to want to focus in on what's going on with Office, which is one of the key businesses there. But I think given what we're seeing with the pandemic, what we've seen with the explosive growth in Zoom, people are going to want to understand, wow, what has this meant for Microsoft's Teams product, which is their collaborative suite that really kind of takes on not only Zoom, but also Slack as well. So that's going to be a pretty interesting one. And remember, Microsoft has been a company that has consistently been able to increase its dividend over the last decade plus. So you want to also be watching free cash flow and any other signs that they might be talking about in terms of cloud or enterprise spending.
So anecdotally, I'm a heavy
Mm-hmm.
Zoom user. Had some challenges with it, like everybody. All software is
Mm-hmm.
having challenges. Earlier today, I had a live broadcast with Clint Sorensen of Wealth Shield, and it didn't connect to LinkedIn, but it connected to all the
Mm-hmm.
other handles. But I have heard raving reviews of the Teams platform and their
Yeah.
video conferencing capabilities. And something tells me, as CTOs are evaluating their tech stack post coronavirus, it's going to really, really skew towards the Microsoft outcomes they delivered during this period.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, look, they have a number of key programs that people use. Again, just think of Office, but also think too of, as much as I'm a Mac guy and I'm coming to you from my lovely MacBook Pro. Thank you, Tim Cook and everybody at Apple. Look, the reality is that we still live in a PC-centric world. So to the extent that they can integrate it just a little bit better than using a third-party product, it's going to make life a little easier for folks, I think. But having said that, though, I will be kind of curious to see, I'm getting a little bit ahead of the gun here, when Apple reports tomorrow, do they talk at all about FaceTime being used the way we're talking about Zoom, the way we're talking about Microsoft Teams? Because you can have multiple folks on FaceTime. I just don't think that most people are really talking about it as that type of application, even though, one-on-one, you might FaceTime or call somebody pretty quickly rather than going, oh, I got to Zoom. I'm not going to Zoom Jay. I'll FaceTime Jay, that sort of thing.
So, Chris, I've actually seen a lot of that. One of my business partners, Vince Kane at RC Watley, told me that he's been doing a lot of heavy FaceTime calls because you're holding the phone in your hand. It helps you articulate things a lot clearer, and you don't have to deal with everything that's involved with setting up the Zoom. You simply press the number and call them.
I would love to do that, Jay, but being half Italian and talking with my hands, my phone would probably go flying.
So anything else from the Apple's earnings report later this week that you'd want to keep your eye on?
Well, I mean, look, there's going to be a couple things for Apple if we're going to stick with that. One is, what is iPhone demand? And I think we'll get some clues into that ahead of that report. Again, that report is Thursday, but tonight we have Qualcomm, which is probably the market share leading baseband supplier for smartphones. So we'll want to hear what they have to say, not only about the March quarter, but what's the expectation for the June quarter, but also the big event when it comes to mobile this year is the rollout of 5G. TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor, and a couple other companies have reported so far indicating that 5G is on track for the back half of this year. Typically, we see the new smartphones come out sometime in September through the fourth quarter, sometimes in staged releases. But all indications say that Apple is going to release up to four, I should say, 5G iPhone models this year, which has a lot of people thinking, myself included, that we're on the cusp of a big iPhone upgrade cycle. So here's the thing. Do I expect Apple to talk all about that? No, they are extremely cryptic about their plans, and they probably won't say anything about it till September when they have their annual event. So as investors, it's our job to start piecing together things that lead up to that. So we'll do that this afternoon with Qualcomm, and then later this earnings season, Skyworks, Qorvo, and a couple other companies. And then we'll revisit that in July when they do the same. Reason being, July, August is really when the chips start to ship, to get put into the devices that get built, that land on shelves October, November, December.
So, Chris, at the Tematica Research, thematic investing drives what you do, and this falls into one of your core themes right now. Could you give listeners and viewers kind of an overview of that theme and how you see it playing out?
Well, it's actually what I just described touches on really three themes in various components. So when we think about the B2C business or consumers, we're really thinking about digital lifestyle. That's what we use these devices for, Jay. Everything from messaging to streaming video, streaming audio, paying bills, chewing content, and the like. That's the consumer-facing part of the business. When we think of B2B, It can take a couple different forms. We can talk about the mobile networks that are run by AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, that are actually built by companies like Dycom. But we also have chips from Qualcomm and those other companies that I mentioned. That's digital infrastructure. And then finally, 5G, certain aspects of it are poised to be extremely disruptive and innovative. Not only is it going to help power the Internet of Things, but it's also going to be one of the key backbone technologies for allowing autonomous cars to talk to each other. That aspect of 5G falls into our disruptive innovators theme. So 5G is going to be a multi-year event, and it's going to, as you can tell, have a lot of ripple effects. But I have to poke fun at some folks out there, Jay. Sorry. I know that there are a couple of 5G ETFs out there, and I always laugh about that because when we think about our themes, we want them to be multi-year. Okay. Mm-hmm. 5G is a technology event that will last a couple years. But if you think about it, we had 4G before it, 3G before that, 2G before that. Will there be a 6G? Sure. Is there Wi-Fi 6? Absolutely. So from our perspective, we like to bundle it a little wider with our themes that are more reflective of the longer term opportunities, not just a potentially niche-y type of thing.
Makes perfect sense, and that speaks to the power of thematic investing when constructing portfolios.
Done right, done properly.
Done properly.
And I say that because there is a lot of kitschy, niche-y things that kind of spaghetti at the wall. And I think we're seeing, not to poke fun at some of my friends, but I think some of these, pandemic portfolios, COVID portfolios are more of the latter. There's not, though there are aspects of some structural change there, but I don't see a real profound structural change like some of the ones we just talked about.
Excellent. Let's move on. McDonald's.
Yeah.
One of the stocks you thought we should really pay some attention to this week. There could be some information in there. What are you looking for?
Well, it's a couple things. One, we have gotten something like 26 million fresh jobless claims over the last couple of weeks. We know consumers are hurting. We know they're looking to kind of, trade down, if you will. McDonald's, whether it's while we're in the pandemic or reopening, they are a cheap alternative for people looking to feed themselves. We can debate about how healthy it is. I think the company's actually done a reasonably good job of repositioning its menu over time. They've also embraced not just drive-through, which they've always had, but mobile ordering, mobile delivery. And that could really help them at a time like this. But here's the other thing that I want to understand if they touch on it. I'm not sure that they will. But, today, Jay, President Trump signed an executive order to keep meat processing plants open. Right. Over the last couple of weeks, we've seen ones from Tyson Foods, Hormel Foods, and others shut down because of the pandemic. What's the potential impact on McDonald's? Higher beef prices? If so, what's the inflection on their margins, their impact on their margins? That's not going to happen in the March quarter. Will they guide or talk about it when they talk about the June quarter or the back half of the year? We'll see. And then the kicker is on May 4th, Tyson Foods, which supplies a hefty amount to McDonald's in terms of beef, chicken, and fish, believe it or not. What are they seeing on the outlook for inflationary prices?
Yeah, Chris, I've read a couple of articles talking about some of the real pain in the meat industry being in the boneless chicken space, which you would have to think is going to have spillover into Yum Brands and some of these other fast foods that are very centric, right?
I think you're right. And, what's interesting, when I was, doing my reading, at the time when Tyson's bought this other business that served McDonald's, Tyson, the company that they bought, was giving them, I think, 150 million pounds a year in beef, 300 million in chicken. Now that's fascinating when you think about that, because most people think about McDonald's as, I always think McDonald's honestly is burgers and fries, but the volume of chicken that they churn out is, pretty big.
Hey, kids like chicken nuggets. I can tell you that. Amazon, what are you looking for this week from them?
Well, so I'll tell you what I'm sorry to get a little flustered there, but there's a couple different ways to think about this one. One, look, we know whether it's from the March retail sales data, comments from Target that you and I talked about previously, or others, that the shift to digital shopping amid the pandemic has simply exploded. That will obviously be very good for Amazon. I confess, I order from Amazon on a regular basis, probably even more so during the pandemic, so I could get stuff that I needed. Having said that, though, I saw certain delivery dates get extended because of this huge push towards Amazon and online ordering. What I think is going to happen is their revenues will probably be stronger than expected. The issue is going to be the cost side given the need to fulfill that. Okay. So I think that's the wild card to watch. The other trick with Amazon is this: when they tend to guide, they give not wide guidance, they give wide guidance. As I joke, you can drive several trucks through it. And I don't mean these little pickup trucks. I mean these Class 8, big trucks through it. And that's always the wild card. And I think that they could hang their hat on saying, wow, we have seen unprecedented demand amid the pandemic, and we are scaling our operations even more to meet demand in the future. Because I do think, Jay, that once you cross over to the online ordering side, whether it's for books, music, toiletries, whatever, groceries, whatever, it's very hard to go back. Because the convenient, and because one, as you know, my partner in crime has dubbed Amazon the deflationary Death Star, which is absolutely true. But it's also the convenience, and as increasingly they go from Prime, what was 2-day, to 1-day, and in some cases same day, the convenience factor is just too much.
Yeah, your partner Lenore's terminology of the deflationary Death Stars really struck with me, and I've used it a lot. Sometimes I give her credit, sometimes I don't. I tell you,
if you do what I do, just make it your own.
Make it my own. Yeah, that's right. And some of my friends in the commercial real estate space that are working on what I guess the terminology they use there is the last mile, where they're getting the commercial storage space so that an Amazon can store products to do that next day delivery. And that's been growing apparently exponentially in that space. So you have to wonder how much even more value they're going to be able to bring over time, and then contrasting that. And I don't pick individual stocks as standalone investments, but contrasting that with what people may do after this pandemic. You have a chance to spend some money with a local business. I think there's going to be a movement towards that. I'm already starting to see it in some of my circles, and that could have an impact on Amazon.
I think it will. The issue is waves, right? Will we see some of the spending go back to going out to dinner? Yes. Drinks, what have you. Yeah, absolutely. But, I would suspect, Jay, that more people than not might go, I could set up an automated subscription service on Amazon for toilet paper, paper towels, and I don't need to worry about that ever again.
Yeah. Yep. But that's low margin stuff, don't you think?
Well, that's true. The one thing we didn't talk about, just generally speaking with Amazon, is their real push into proprietary product, which is unbelievable, from apparel to furniture to cords, batteries, you name it. And then the other 2-3 big things that they're doing, just might as well get it out there. One is they made this acquisition of PillPack a little over, I guess, 12, 18 months ago. And that's really their push into subscription prescriptions. And, it's one of those things that they're slowly but surely getting state by state approval. But I mean, think about it, Jay. I don't have to go to, Walgreens. I don't have to go wherever. My pills show up, once a week, once a month, whatever the frequency is. And I just take them, and they're all packaged nice and neat for me to take. So that's one business. And again, that's a driver not only for digital lifestyle, but from our aging of the population theme, because as we get older, going to have to, unfortunately, probably be on a few more medications. You might like those blue pills I hear they keep talking about, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. So that's one. Two, Amazon has their own advertising business, which is continuing to grow. And I think as we see more people looking for more products on Amazon, that will continue to grow, high margin business. And then the third, we've heard a lot of talk about Google, Apple, Facebook, Microsoft getting into gaming. Well, guess what? Amazon's doing it too. and they have that entire Twitch platform to really benefit from. So there's a lot going on at Amazon, and I just, I understand your point that, at the margin, people are going to go back and spend on local businesses, and I hope they do. I really do. But there's just so much going for Amazon.
All right, last stock of the day. Surprised you had it on the list to talk about.
I did. Oh, Clorox. Yeah, so it's actually fascinating. If you look at that chart, boy, what a rocket ship from, early March all the way up into probably, I'm guessing that's, a week or 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. No surprise. I mean, you would go to any store. I don't care if it was, Costco, Walmart, Harris Teeter, Kroger, whatever. Good luck finding those cleaning products, right? But now people are dialing back, getting ready to reopen, like you folks down in Georgia. And, so they've seen some trade-off. I actually think you have to, before I say that, let's remember that the expectation, Jay, is that the virus is going to come back in the fall and again next winter/spring, some type of timing like that. It will be better. Hopefully there'll be some measures in place. I don't think we'll have the virus yet, but maybe there'll be some things that we can take to reduce the impact. But people are going to be mindful of cleaning things and disinfecting things. Even today, if you take a look, Costco is going to reopen, I think, in full force in a couple of days. You have to wear a face mask, right? If you want to fly on JetBlue, got to wear a face mask. I was reading, I think the president of Duke University said, well, I think our students, when they come back in the fall, they'll be wearing face masks. So I think there's going to be a continued heightened sense of disinfecting and cleaning. And I think long-term, that's going to benefit Clorox, but they're a quality company and they're a great dividend payer as well.
Excellent. Chris, let's wrap with my new segment called Just One Stock. Quite frankly, I got the idea from you. I asked my guest if you had to put your whole portfolio into just one stock here for the next month. What do you allocate?
Oh, next month. You switched this up. First time I heard this.
Because you knew I was going to say for the long term, and that's why I changed it.
So let's just be clear here, Jay. You're not asking for an investment. You're asking for a trade.
A trade, and a trade that is not advice to listeners. But what has your eye right now if you had to put all of your net worth into a stock and hold it for a month?
Well, I would say, given that we're in the pandemic, and this will be good for a month, and this will be good for actually 6 months. It's a company called Norton LifeLock, NLOK. Why? Data privacy. That is a huge, huge topic that's going on. And we know that the number of phishing schemes and other malicious emails have just exploded during the current pandemic. And I think that we're going to see a lot of people getting compromised. And I suspect that a lot of people will be benefiting from Norton LifeLock. But it's got something like 6 million subscribers. It's going to see a pickup in subscribers. It's paying a dividend. And when you look at the valuation, my view, the stock is cheap. And just for full disclosure, Norton LifeLock is a constituent in the Foxberry Tematica Research Cybersecurity and Data Privacy Index. It's also therefore a constituent in the RISE ETF, Cybersecurity and Data Privacy UCITS ETF.
Excellent. And here is the Resilient Advisor disclaimer. If you take investment advice from Jay Coulter or Chris Versace, you're guaranteed to lose your money. Make sure you consult a financial advisor and a tax professional when making investment decisions. Chris, it's always great to have you on the podcast and the broadcast. And I appreciate the flexibility after our technical difficulties this week. I really do.
Oh, happy to do it. Happy to do it, Jay. And if it happens again, we'll do what we have to do again, 2-3 times, whatever. Don't worry about it.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.
Take care, Jay.